All right, so now that we have explained the main things here, we can see a few more details. Let's say you've started like this and you realize you need other options. You can click on Enable Manager View, or you can go to File, Options, Welcome View. You select Welcome View, and here you can say what you work as, and Trados will adapt the view to what you need. Another thing that is important, if you know that you will be working with someone else and that you will have to create yourself a project package that you will need to send to someone, something that you need to do is you need to create a user, and that's done in File, Setup, and Users. And once you are in there, you create a new user. You need to give it a name and you need to give it an email address. So here I have used a bogus name and email address just to demonstrate that. But basically, if you don't do that, if you don't create a user, you won't be able to export a project. So just remember that you need to do that. And now let's talk about how to make the most out of Trados 2022. So there are features in Trados that can be very useful to you. Some are found in the App Store, so depending on your needs you can use that. But if you want to make the most out of your translation memory, there are a few things you can do. So one thing you can decide to do is to create an auto-suggest dictionary. So you will be able to use the features I'm going to show now only if you already have a translation memory. That's quite substantial. Okay, so if you come with your own translation memory, you can start with that. So you start from the welcome page here and you click on Create Auto-Suggest Dictionary. You will need to select a translation memory. Click on Next, select your language pair. Regarding the memory usage, okay, so depending on what the content of your translation memory, you can ask SDL to use everything or to use less, and this way it will use less time. So here, for example, it says that it will use 10,000 translation units. And if I go all the way here, it will use the full translation memory. And then it's a question of deciding where you want it to store it and click on Finish. I'm not going to go through all the process now because that takes a while. So to give you an idea, I have used this translation memory here, which is nearly 1 million translation units. And to create this auto-suggest dictionary, SDL used probably 5 hours to be able to do that. And you can't use SDL at the same time that you're doing that. You can still use your computer because somehow they have limited the amount of RAM that this process needs to be able to be performed. But just know that when you start that, well, depending on the size of your translation memory, that is going to take a while. Same thing for improving your translation memory. If we go into translation memory, then we select, for example, my local TM, which is the big one. And here, if I go into performance and tuning, it will tell me if it needs to do something here. So there is currently no need to recompute the fuzzy index. Okay. And if I go to fragment alignment, here I get a bit of the most interesting technology. So uplift, I want to have it on. It will help me to get fragment recalls. And what you need to do is build a translation model. So basically, if you don't see the I with there is currently no need to build a translation model and there is currently no need to update the alignment information, well, you're good to go. But if these come in the form of a warning, well, to get the most out of your translation memory, you need to build a translation model and then align translation units. And these processes take a long time, depending on the size of your translation memory. So for the translation memory, the big one I've used, which is based on coronavirus corpus that is available for free online, this took between the two processes, I think probably something close to in between 15 and 20 hours. So just know that you need to be prepared and do that at night when you go to bed to find that done, maybe in the morning. But for regular translation memory sizes like 10,000, some things like that, that won't take as long. But of course, the most you have in your translation memory, the more benefit you will get from these features. So let's have a look at them, how they perform. Here, if I click in this segment, I see that I get no translation memory results, but I do get some fragment matches. So it remembers that in that segment, well, there was a word that was recognized, and it tells me what it was and what was the context. So same here, if I click in segment 108, I look at my translation results, I get no match, but I do get some fragment matches, and they can be very interesting. So here I can see that it was recognized this fragment where it can cause long-term damage too, and here it found the same thing in the target, which is quite nice. So that's one example. I get then other options, so including long-term damage, that's a phrase that has been recognized as well, and so on and so forth. And if I click on them, I can see the full context. And if I click on this button here, that will apply the match result, or I can use Ctrl-Alt-M. And there you go. So that's very useful. That's something that is quite nice. And now let's test the predictive typing. Okay, I've typed a few things, and now I see it has found all these things, okay, and I do get also here my fragment matches, so that's very nice. I get here my auto-suggest dictionary and I get my fragment matches, so I can navigate between these options and quick insert them while I translate. So if you have a big translation memory, that is really worth your time to do that, and I especially like the fragment matches. That's very nice addition. Okay, so now let's click from the project view here on project settings. And here it is important to understand this section here, which is called language pairs. So you have two sections. You have all language pairs, which you will find all the time, and you have your different language pairs that are specified for your current project. So if we look at all language pairs, here we get the translation memories. Okay, so I see there that I have selected these two to work on this project, and here you decide what they do, if they are enabled, if you use lookup, if you use the concordance, and if you are writing to them. So if you want to write into them, you click on update. Okay, so for example, this one here will be read only because it's not, the box here is not ticked. And in all language pairs, you have also your term bases. So for example, for this other project I didn't add one. So let me reduce all language pairs. And now if I go to the other, English to French, here I find auto-suggest dictionaries. Very important. And that's where you add your auto-suggest dictionary that you have created before. So if you use the welcome section, create your auto-suggest dictionary, make sure you remember where you store it, and then you come back to this area here. Okay, so project settings, all language pair, the current language pair that you want to use the auto-suggest dictionary, click on auto-suggest dictionary and select it. And that's where it will be applied to your project. Okay, so that is useful to know. And if you look into translation memories, since they've been set in the all language pairs section, here it appears grayed out. Okay, and if you want to do something specific for a language pair, you just click that box and it becomes something you can edit. Okay, so once you know how this works, like I've demonstrated here, it is very useful, because the next time that you will go into creating a new project, then you can decide to make a project where you have everything set up. So the best translation memory that you have, that has been optimized, and your auto-suggest dictionary, you can select these things to make sure that they are being used. So for example, if in a new project this is done at step 3, okay, and you go into, so you see here that's the same structure, all language pairs, and here English, French, I open that and I see my auto-suggest dictionary. And every time you create a project, you need to add it here. Or you can set up at the end, in the summary, your project, so that you will keep this template. And that will help you to have all these resources already selected when you get new files. So after this bit of information, and before finishing this video, I'd like just to show you something that I have tested with Trados. It's this new functionality to have the ability to work directly on software. So they accept specific file types for .NET, and as you can see here, it does work. You get on the right hand side a preview of what you are translating, but basically for it to work well, whoever is preparing the program that will need to be translated needs to do the preparation work very well. If it's not done very well, you will have some issues translating it. But that's a new addition, which is quite nice to have. And that's it for this getting started video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it will be useful to you. Please leave a like, you can leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.